Well, ladies and gentlemen, it would appear that the price of Breonna Taylor's life and the BLM movement's legitimacy can be bought. That's right, for the cost of $12 million. Instead of making a stand and refusing to be paid off, BLM activists trade their calls for cold hard cash. Less than 7 weeks before the 2020 election, Joe Biden and the liberal mainstream media continue their radical rants of socialism. They have genuinely illustrated just what they have in store for America in a Harris-Biden administration. This week, I'll break down the fickleness and the financing of the liberal movement to defund and shame American law enforcement, as well as how Trump's rise in the most recent polls have Biden and the Democrats running from the confines of their basements and projecting communistic pandering across our nation. Stay tuned. Give me 10 minutes of your time, and I'll break it all down. All the liberal hysteria. This is Eric Wright, and you're listening to the Closet Conservative Podcast. Folks, if you haven't already, you better gear yourselves up for what could be coming our way in November if Biden and the Democrats have their way. For months, I have been saying this, and a lot of you have heard of it as well. Joe Biden has no thoughts of being president, and that is just fine with the Democratic establishment. Of course, if you tune into the liberal, tone-deaf mainstream media outlets of ABC News, CNN, or MSNBC, you don't dare get wind of this information. Don't believe me? Take the words of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who both this week flip-flopped who is atop of the Democratic ticket in 2020.
Harris-Biden administration is going to relaunch that.
A Harris administration together with Joe Biden.
That's right. There is no denying it now, is there? The deranged, dementia-ridden Demi Dum Dum and the Indian Jamaican princess herself both stated what is to come in a Harris-Biden administration. Now, we all know that Joe Biden is a gaff-machine. Heck, that is nothing new. He cannot remember where he is, what office he is running for, who he is meeting or speaking with, or what he ate for breakfast. But ladies and gentlemen, are the American people to believe that somehow, someway, both on the Democratic ticket had a slip of the tongue in just who would be leading this administration should Trump lose in November? Absolutely not. And if you begin to entertain such a notion, you too, like Biden, need to have your head examined. Folks, the writing is on the wall, the chips are down, and Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, headed in the halls of Congress by Nancy Pelosi, will do anything in their power to unseat Trump and the Republicans in 2020. After all, Biden and the DNC are already preparing for their goose-stepping political parade by assembling a legal team of top lawyers to anticipate court challenges to the election process that could ultimately determine who wins the race for the White House. Biden's presidential campaign says that the legal war room will work to ensure that elections are appropriately administered and votes correctly counted. It would also seek to combat voter suppression at the polls, identify foreign interference and misinformation, and educate voters on the different methods available for casting ballots. Folks, Joe Biden and his Moscow-minded minions are bringing out every lame duck liberal leech imaginable to help in their efforts to thump Trump out of the Oval Office. President Obama's longest-serving and most-trusted advisor, ex-Attorney General Eric Holder, is lending his hand to ensure that every vote is counted, especially among those from convicted felons and those who receive 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ballots from their deathly departed Democratic friends. Ladies and gentlemen, get your popcorn ready. It will be quite a show. If you thought seeing Democratic clowns peering at hanging chads in Florida in 2020 was a nightmare, you haven't seen anything yet. Democrats have shown their true colors through the Supreme Court nomination process, and especially during the impeachment proceedings. From jump go, their goal has been to fraudulently or intentionally remove Trump from office by any means necessary. Let us also not forget the true intentions of the DNC. For starters, they knew they couldn't get a socialist liberal like Bolshevik Bernie elected atop of the ticket. Instead, they regurgitated a philandering, done-nothing, do-nothing Democrat in Joe Biden, labeled him a moderate, and will pull his strings from behind the curtain to ensure that they throw radical, anti-conservative, anti-Republican, and anti-American policies down the throats of all Americans. Don't believe me? Try this on for size. Yesterday, Democratic Socialist House Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said that she believes that she can push Joe Biden into a more progressive direction, significantly in immigration and criminal justice reform, as well as marijuana legalization and universal health care. Folks, this is the plan and has been the plan from the beginning. Joe Biden is not a moderate. Heck, if you asked him, he doesn't even know what he is. But one thing is for sure, Joe Biden, led by Nancy Pelosi, Bernie Sanders, and the anti-American Socialist Squad will stop at nothing until the halls of Congress are packed with communists, and the National Mall in D.C. is a newly renowned rendition of Russia Red Square. Ladies and gentlemen, we must not stand by and let the socialist left invade our country and dismantle our democracy. Grab your gear, grab your friend, lock arms, but not for some bogus, paid-for, and Democratic-bought shams like the BLM, but for a true movement to preserve our nation's liberty, purpose, prosperity, and independence. As always, thank you all for tuning in. Be kind, be mindful, but most important, be American. This is Eric Wright, and this has been the Closet Conservative Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast. Please remember to give a 5-star review and share our podcast with your friends. The Closet Conservative Podcast is a production of The Liberty Loft. Copyright The Liberty Loft, 2020. You can find more shows and information on our website, www.thelibertyloft.com, or any of our social media channels.